What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner, and joining me for the first time, and it has been a while, AJ. We're doing a lot of solo drops this summer. It has been a while since we've been on a pod. It's our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. AJ, good to be back talking a little Carolina football with you today, man.
I just did my first bow in a while. Got to do the traditional bow.
I know
people think it's really weird. AJ, why do you do that? Well, why the hell does AJ do it? AJ, that's really cool and whatever. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks bowing is cool. It's just something we started doing a long time ago. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing it because why the hell not?
I think it looks good.
There's the bow.
It's your little, I'm here and I'm ready to talk a little Carolina football bow. Man. I think people, when they see that bow, they know we're about to get into some juicy.
I don't do it when I'm doing solo drops.
Yeah. Because
hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm me and I bow. I don't do that.
But yeah, man, it's good to be back together to talk a little Carolina football in this one. A lot of things to talk about. I know fall camp not too far from starting. I guess about 5 days away now. Team reports in 4 days, but about 5 days before camp actually starts. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. You had an interview with Mack Brown yesterday that we put out. We're going to go in depth a little bit on that and talk just about some points and some takeaways from that interview. Sure. ACC kickoff later this week, and just some things to look for ahead of, again, fall camp starting. Yeah, it's close, man.
It's ongoing, Jacob. 4 days.
Yeah, that's a good point. ACC kickoff is ongoing. Third day today, right?
Before I had this job, when I covered the whole league, I'd be in Charlotte for 4 days at this stuff. Wow, so they've really spread it out, and I've been following. I think, what's the over-under on the number of 5-hour energies Brett Friedlander will consume at the ACC kickoff this week? You're only supposed to have 2 a day, but I will tell you, there are times I have 3 in a day. So 4 days, I think he's going with 9. I think he's going to cheat and sneak little sips of one in there.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to go
His
9.
heart's just screaming for him to stop.
And, 5-hour energy did reach out. To us.
I didn't hear about that. They did.
Well, they reached out to us because people kept tagging. But
I did. It was on Twitter, right? Brett on Twitter.
Yeah, nothing's come of it yet. If something does, then we still have those old tweets where we told people, hey, we end up getting a deal, we give you a free subscription. So if we end up working something out, 5-hour energy, there are about 9 people, I think, I pulled their tweets aside, that will randomly pick from one of them and give them a 1-year subscription.
God, that's fantastic.
Man of my word, Jacob. Man of my word.
I know you are, man. I know you are. Hey,
that's important in this political season to be a man of my word. That's a very important factor.
Yeah, man. You're not lying about that, guys. Go reach out to 5-hour energy on Twitter. Let them know. Say sponsor at Heel Illustrated. Heck, I'll throw a logo on the graphic right here if they sponsor us, man. We'll be the presenting sponsor of TarHeelIllustrated.com, man. Just come on, guys. Come on over. No one needs it more than, or deserves it more than AJ. And I don't know if Brett needs a sponsor, but if anybody deserves a sponsor, Brett needs one too.
Well, no, just give it to us. Don't give him anything.
Yeah, exactly. We'll throw him a couple free ones here then.
I'll throw him a couple of strawberry banana 5-hour energies. That's become that flavor. I'm a big strawberry banana. Brett gave me. We're going way off the rails.
That's all right, man. That's part of the course on this.
Brett gave me, swear to God, they have them in a 6-pack. I had no idea. Gave me a 6-pack of 5-hour energy for Christmas, but they were coconut. I hate coconut, but I powered through. I saved them until I'm at the Dean Dome at like 3:00 in the morning and got a little bit more to do. And I'm like, what can I do to wake myself up? Well, 5-hour energy, number 1, and coconut, number 2. When something tastes so bad, it sparks you up. So
just plug the nose and chug it.
Oh, coconut's awful.
I don't like coconut flavor either, man. I can't.
Strawberry banana 5-hour energy rocks.
That sounds great. I'm a big strawberry banana guy. I thought when you first said it, I thought you were going to say you didn't like it. And I'm like, that sounds like one of the best flavors they could have.
Peach mango is pretty good too. And I'm not a peach guy.
I'm not a peach guy either. I might have to cover my nose on that one. I don't love mango either. But besides, hey, 5-hour energy sponsors us, AJ. I love every single flavor. Put it that way, man.
We just gave them about $300 worth of free advertising.
Yeah, man. I'll have to invoice them here in a little bit after I get off this podcast for that.
People want to listen to us talk football. So we're doing what I complain when other shows do it. So we're guilty of that too.
Yeah. And I'm going to do one more thing, AJ. We're going to dive into football here. Just want to give everybody a quick reminder. Is this something we launched a couple weeks ago? Guys, if you want to support, I know we want you to sign up, $8.33 a month, premium subscription at TarHeelIllustrated.com. You guys know the spiel and the access to the type of content you get over here. You have to pay for it to be signed up. You can be a Carolina Insider too. Links in the description below. But if you don't want to do that, can understand that you don't want to pay monthly. Maybe you don't want access to that insider information for whatever reason, and you just want to support the show a little bit and support what we do at TarHeelIllustrated.com. You can send us a Venmo at Tar Heel Illustrated. Could be $1, $2, $5, $20, however much you want to send us. All of it helps. All of it goes back to us putting out more content, doing better content, and also paying the staff too. AJ, anything you want to add
for operations?
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's just it's so much more expensive. I'm preparing to set up a lot of my trips for this year, and it's absurd. Sending David to camps and stuff like that. Everything is so much more expensive, and we're still charging the same rate. What's today? Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the first day of my 11th year. I'm almost exactly 10 years in. Wow. And we're the same price we were 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I would rather people sign up because they get a lot of bang for their buck and they get access to everything. And I know a lot of people they don't want to give out all that information. They don't want to. I know that there are some companies, and I can't tell you if Rivals does it or not. I have no idea. But some companies, when you sign up for something, they sell your information to other companies so they can hit you up for stuff. I have no idea if they do that or not, and I'll never have any way of finding out. So I know people are apprehensive about signing up for a lot of stuff. So if that's you, just send us something if you appreciate what we do and want more of it, because that's the mission. Fall camp starts next week. We're going to do a lot of stuff. You've seen that Jake has been doing drops, not just me. We've got a lot of people on our staff we're going to involve in more stuff. You're going to see a lot more Chelsea Sipple this year. And I know a lot of people like that because she brings some diversity to what we do, a different tone, a different approach. And that's what we want. It's not AJ.com. It's not AJandJacob.com. It's all of us. And the more I can pay people, the more I can ask them to do stuff.
Exactly.
And that's important.
Everybody wins. Everybody wins in that situation.
And they can travel. I mean, I want to get more staff traveling.
Yeah. It's not cheap. It ain't getting any cheaper, man. It ain't getting any cheaper. Put it that way.
Yeah. I've got a guy that I've hired to help us do stuff at Maui when the basketball team's out there, because I can't go because I have to stay back here for basketball. Mm-hmm. That's not cheap. And I know it's cheaper than if I went to Maui.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say,
I can't. Cheap.
God, I can't imagine how expensive that flight would be. That travel, jeez.
I wish football was off for 2 weeks so I could go on that one, because I hate missing those games. I hate missing. It's not so much being on Hawaii. I hate missing the games because I want to be around everything. Because every opportunity I have to be around the team, whether it's football or basketball or the coaches in any capacity, I always learn. Like I learned from Mack yesterday in the one-on-one interview that I had with him, and I will learn. Even though tomorrow at the ACC kickoff it's more for the people who don't cover the school you cover, because there's the kinds of questions and everything, but you got to be there. But I'll still learn something. Mm-hmm. I'll still learn something. So that to me, the value, that's why we go everywhere the Tar Heels go. It costs a lot of money because you learn so much every time you're around them. It's not just watching on TV and thinking you got a handle on things. You know how much I love road games.
Oh, yeah.
Especially basketball, because we're in the locker room after the game basketball. At home, we don't go in the locker room. It's more of a player's lounge area. So that will help us do all that stuff and bring you inside the tent even more.
Heck yeah, man. So guys, we
are looking for advertisers. Since we're selling our soul.
Yeah, plug that as well.
Since we're selling our soul, we are looking for advertisers, and I want to get people locked in for a year now. So we've cut the rate if you want to do a year instead of the monthly stuff or the quarterly stuff like a lot of others have done for a while, just because I don't want to have to deal with it during the course of a year. And we've got new advertising spots on our site too. So we're looking for about 4 advertisers. So reach out to me. We'll work something out. You could be, by the way, you can be inside the tent, not just an insider, but inside the tent. You'll get even more information if you're an advertiser.
That's the perks, man. That's the perks of joining the THI family over here, guys. So again, just reach out to us. All the links you need in the description below. If you want to get in contact with us, shoot us a Venmo or sign up for $8.33 a month. We appreciate you guys. As always, regardless if you're a paying customer or watching our stuff on YouTube, again, we appreciate everybody that enjoys our content. AJ, you mentioned the interview with Mack. I want to start there. Put that on our YouTube channel yesterday. If you haven't seen it, guys, go watch it. Fantastic interview. A little bit over an hour long with Mack, one-on-one interview over Zoom. AJ did, and I thought, I've told you, I thought it was a fantastic interview with a lot of cool and interesting insights. But I picked out a couple. I want to talk about 2 things. You might have other things you want to talk about. We're not going to spend an hour rehashing the interview because you can just go listen to it yourself. But I think I remember when I was listening to the podcast, actually. I was in the car at the time and I was listening to the pod, and it made me stop for a second and say, oh, okay. I haven't really necessarily heard him maybe say it as bluntly as he said it there, but Mack made a comment in the interview about his staff and how, he said, he did acknowledge, he's like, I'm sure I've said this before in my long head coaching tenured history, but he's like, this is one of, if not the best staff that I've ever had as a head coach. We've talked about, we've heard Mack say publicly, this is, the best staff I've had at North Carolina and stuff like that. I've heard him say that in the past. But for him, I just remember hearing that and being like, oh, okay, that's a point I want to talk about on the podcast yesterday because I find that tomorrow because I find that very interesting. So, what did you make of that comment? Because I think on the surface of things, AJ, and on paper, I think it's easy to kind of see. Yeah, like you look at the pieces and Jeff Collins and some of the other guys that have come in. Like, yeah, I mean, I see where he's coming from there. But what did you make of that in the moment from actually hearing Mack Brown said that? Because again, I think that's a positive thing for North Carolina fans to hear, for lack of a better word.
My initial reaction was you said that last fall about
I
the
did
staff.
think about that too.
You said it the fall before about the staff. That was the first thing I thought, and he did. Yeah. But just like with a team, staffs evolve. It's like any dynamic you have with an office. Most people have worked, or wherever your working environment is, there's always that dynamic where things are much better at one point than they are maybe later on. Things start to devolve. One person maybe isn't as bought in as the others, and you could sort of see things either with that person or in general sort of, I wouldn't say fall apart, but weaken. So coaching staffs in football are not unlike any office or work scenario that we've all been in before where things deteriorate. It happens. And while Mack may have been totally straightforward and honest with us when he said it this time last year that and the year before that, he's saying it again. I think that where I turned it with the question was more about the personality, how diverse the personalities are. Last year, that was a quiet staff. Mm-hmm. You know, Chip Lindsey's not going to do stand-up. It's not.
Nah, it's just not out. Yeah.
I don't think Gene Chizik is going to do a solo show for an hour by himself. That's just not his personality. Then you have Lonnie Galloway. I brought up Lonnie Galloway with Mack. The kids love Lonnie. And I think when you get to know Lonnie a little bit, perhaps there's more personality there. I don't really know Lonnie that well. So when I see him, he's just sort of a distant coach in a lot of respects. You had your Dre Bly personalities before, but Dre's a chest pounder. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that rubbed people the wrong way. What you've got now is with Freddie Kitchens, you got a former NFL head coach who's just got a booming personality. I mean, if you're going to have a tailgate party and you can invite one coach on the staff to hang out your tailgate party, you'd be a fool if it's not Freddie Kitchens.
1,000%.
That's the guy. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a guy like Ted Monachino who turned down an opportunity to go back to the NFL. Opportunities to go back to the NFL, decided to stay there. Freddie's decided to stay at Carolina. Then you've got Clyde Christensen, I was on an elevator with him last spring. And nice, polite, talk about the weather kind of guy. And when he gets off the elevator, if you didn't know, you would have thought he was like the football accountant.
Yeah.
There's nothing that reeks about football with him. He reminds me of a little bit of Norm Chow when Norm Chow was at NC State. Mm-hmm. And there was that whole Norm Chow with Philip Rivers. Norm Chow ended up going to Hawaii, I think it was. But Norm Chow was a guru. And the personality is similar with Clyde Christensen. That's the first thing I thought about when I was around Clyde the first time. So he's not booming with personality. Then you bring in Jeff Collins. And Jeff Collins is borderline insane, man. And I say that in a good way. I say that in a good way. People can say what they want about Jeff Collins as a head coach. And you know what? The record is there. It stands. You can't change it. And it was debacle at Georgia Tech from day one. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. But his 10 years as a defensive coordinator is totally the opposite. And you go from Gene's personality to Jeff's personality on that side of the ball, and no disrespect to Gene, because Gene's record over time stands on its own. But the kids, I think, needed a voice like Jeff's. Now I think the money down stuff's a little bit too far. I sent y'all a picture last week. I saw the money down sign in one of the windows of the football center. I'm like, oh man, that's coming. But maybe that's what they need. Yeah. Maybe they need some of that, because Mack is a personality guy, but Mack is different behind the scenes with the team than people may think. They think he's probably grandpa and everybody sits on his lap and he bounces them on his lap and says, it'll be okay. You'll beat Notre Dame next time, son. I don't think that that's the case at all. No. But you needed someone who just lights, I don't want to say a fire, but a fuse inside the Keenan Football Center every time he's there. And I think that that's Jeff Collins. So you've got a nice combination. You got Collins on that side. Imagine Charlton Warren. See what you need, what they need. And maybe I'm boring people here because I'm going too far in about coaches, and a lot of people don't care about coaches too much. They'll bitch about them when things aren't going well, and they'll disregard them when things are going well. But imagine Charlton Warren comes in and just burns everything to the ground with the guys in terms of they get broken down internally and they start building back up, because that's what he does. He's so intense. And then Jeff Collins comes in and makes them laugh, also makes them think, man, what's up with this dude? I think that's a good thing. They're around each other so much. You need to have such a stark variety of personalities in the coaching staff. They have that now more than they've had before. So I went around my elbow to get to my kneecap to tell you that they have lots of personalities, and that's better than the way it was before. Now, I don't know if it's going to translate into better coaching. I have no clue. But I get what Mack is saying. So that's what struck me. And I even followed up with the personality aspect of the coaching staff. And you could see him smiling because he understands. And I think he agrees with that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it. What you just talked about, too, is kind of that good cop, bad cop dynamic that you need within a program. You can't just have everybody. You can't have this bad cop over here who's, the guy that'll yell at you and get in your face and tell you you're not doing it right. You need a dynamic you need the balance there. You need a good cop, too. Who's going to come in there and make you laugh and do it. So you can't just have, you have to have that dynamic within a coaching staff.
Well, the thing about football, and when people get really upset when after a game Max asked about something, he says, well, I have to talk to the position coach about that. Mack is a head coach. He hates the term CEO, but let's say, just for the sake of discussion, he's a CEO. He's top of the pyramid here. Each position group coach is a head coach of that position group. You've been on the field hundreds of times before games. When they do their position group warm-ups, they get together as a position group, and the head coach is there. And he's having his pregame speech to that group as a head coach. They all have different tactics that they use. Mm-hmm. Usually it goes with their personality. So each coach needs to have some good cop, bad cop within him as well. Mm-hmm. You don't really need, in basketball, you can get away with the coach being sort of the bad cop and then the coach being the good cop because there's not as many people. Because there's so many in football, you can't have one bad cop, one good cop, because they're never going to get around and touch bases. But the position group coaches have to be those guys. And I think that most of them have that element within them. And I think that you think about Lonnie Galloway's personality. I think the personality goes with receivers, because receivers tend to be a little flakier than offensive linemen. Randy Clement's personality with the wide receivers may not work.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Lonnie Galloway's personality with the offensive linemen may not work. Mm-hmm. And I think the personalities go with the position groups pretty well now. Yeah,
completely agree with that. Moving on a little bit. I got actually two more things I want to hit on about this, then we'll keep it quick. But player-led team. I thought Matt, we've heard Matt kind of talk about that a little bit. We've also heard Matt kind of, I think, not talk about his team being player-led at times when they're really not. I think I tend to trust what he says when he does say that he believes this team is doing a good job of being player-led. And that was a big part of the conversation too. I think he gave an example of, I forgot, coaches not being able to be involved in some kind of practice, and Power Eccles is over there coaching the guys up, and having guys like that are stepping up in those leadership roles. And I think you can look across the team and see that with certain guys, just to name a couple, Power Eccles and Kamon Rucker, to name two guys, of like, yeah, you can see those guys as being good leaders and guys that aren't scared to tell you how to do things. But I thought Mack's comments, and we won't know till the season gets started, because I think when the last couple of years with how Carolina has, used the term yesterday, collapsed towards the end of the season, that to me doesn't show a great player-led team, because a player-led team would not let that happen. So has Carolina been great player-led from game 1 to 12 the last couple of seasons? I don't know if I can sit on here and say that, but Mack again coming out and at least reiterating and believing that, hey, I'm seeing signs here that this team is player-led, and that's a sign of a good team. And you can't be a good team if you're not player-led. You just can't be. What did you make of that? Because I think we've seen, you can pick out guys and say, I can see that and I can see that. And we've talked about before in spring ball at open practice and seeing in instances like that. Do you believe this team is player-led, or is it we're just going to have to kind of wait and see when the season starts and the bullets start flying, and then we'll really know when adversity hits if this team really does have that player-led leadership, or if it's just – an off-season thing and not really reality?
Well, leadership usually isn't born once the season starts. It's born in the off season. That's number one. Number two, I can't answer that question until I'm around the team a lot.
Mm-hmm. So
tomorrow, the ACC kickoff is Monday through Thursday. Carolina is the last team scheduled to talk. So we're recording this Wednesday evening.
Mm-hmm.
God, I had to look out the window to see when it was. I've been so busy today. So after we finish recording this, I'm going to get my steps, shower, and I'm going to head up to Charlotte. So there's one day left, and I'll be around a few of the players tomorrow in Mack, and then Monday's practice. So I won't really know for a while, and we may not even know until they get into the season. I agree with you that teams that have very strong player-led leadership guidance don't generally fall apart the way this team has the last couple of years. I agree with Mack that he points out, hey, some of the tougher teams have been at the end of the year. I get that, and I think that's the case again this year, by the way, with the schedule. But they still, what triggered these downfalls were losses that teams they had no business losing to. You can't lose at home to Georgia Tech and then Virginia and say we're a great player-led team.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah.
Because that's the day that gets you through.
Mm-hmm.
You find a way to win. Everyone that has a great season has that really ugly win, but they get the win because they have great player-led leadership. I think Carolina had really good leaders last year, but the frustration, just because a guy can't get everybody to go to the trough with him doesn't mean he's not a very good leader. Sometimes it's just other factors at play. But the frustration that I saw from Drake last year, the absolute frustration I saw from Cedric, and chatted with him about it. Yeah, that was hard. I think it's very hard to be a player-led football team, which is why the position group coaches or head coaches of those groups, they need to lead. And guys need to be yes men more in football than in basketball, because it's all about assignments. It's all about preparation, assignments, and duty, and playing off one another. Basketball, sometimes you can go rogue, and RJ can score 42 points, and you win a game. Football, it's really hard to do that. So you need to have guys in line a little bit more. So a couple of leaders on both sides of the ball, they'll get you through certain aspects. They'll get you through the summer workouts like Power did. They'll make sure that everybody is at pregame meal at the right time. They're the kind of guy that when you're in the locker room and you're changing, you do not want that guy to get on your butt.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to disappoint that guy. He is your personal standard. But when it comes to everything else, it's really the coaches. It's the head coach, it's the coordinators, it's the position group coaches, and they are more responsible for whether or not they fall off the rails or not. Then the players with their play and execution, yes. But I think, especially this year, because if you look at that schedule, they have a chance to start out really strong, and then they go to Tallahassee. So, but do they lose before going there? Historically, they would lose before going there. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they're in that position. And I talked to Mack about that. I asked him about the collapses. I don't think he liked the term collapse. And I get that. And collapse is just an easy word to use that we know everybody will understand. And there were some factors involved. But you go 6-0 and you lose at home to UVA.
Yeah.
You go 9-1 and you lose at home to Georgia Tech on its 800th quarterback with an interim coach. I mean,
and you never really recover after that either.
And you don't recover after either one of them. You don't recover at all after either one of them. So you're 100% right there. So I asked him, he was very open this spring about why that happened. And so I asked him, have you figured it out? What are some of those things? And he gave good answers. But I think ultimately it's up here. Mm-hmm. They've got Minnesota. They've got Charlotte, Central, and JMU. Now, Minnesota's better than people think. That if they win at Minnesota by any kind of margin, that's a good win. If they win by a decent margin, that's a great win. Mm-hmm. But then if you look at the schedule, how it lays out with Duke and Georgia Tech and UVA and all that kind of stuff, this team could roll on for a while, and then they're going to be met with possibly with the same situation they faced the last 2 years. And we'll know where the program is if and when they hit that point and how they handle it. And the reason the coaching staff is so important, going back to that discussion, is because that's the group that has to get you by. Maybe the voice that they'll hear on defense this year, that week, against a no-name quarterback, a third-string quarterback from from Georgia Tech 2 years ago, and a true freshman. What did UVA have last year? Who was their quarterback? They were bouncing back and forth. They had the true freshman and the transfer from Maine.
Transfer from some. Yeah.
I mean, they had nothing. And then, they got Duke, a third-string quarterback from Duke, and they barely win that game.
Next State 2 years ago at home, with the
and the backup quarterbacks. They're losing. Yeah. So they're losing a backup quarterbacks, which tells me the preparation wasn't great. Remember when in Jay Bateman's last year, they go down to Georgia Tech, and TJ Yates' brother is their starting quarterback, and it's a close, low-scoring game because Carolina's putting the ball on the ground every time it has a chance in the first half, or Sam's getting sacked. And in the second half, Georgia Tech puts Jeff Sims in the game, and he runs all over him, and Georgia Tech blows out Carolina. Well, Jeff Sims was Georgia Tech's rep at the ACC kickoff that year. Mm-hmm. He was the face of the program, but he had been out because he got hurt in their opener against Northern Illinois. He didn't play the week before the Carolina game at Clemson, although he was cleared. I knew he was cleared. So I asked Jeremiah Gemmel after the game about Jeff Sims, and he said they didn't prepare for Jeff Sims.
Yeah.
So maybe now when you have a defensive coordinator who fairly recently has very, very high marks at Mississippi State and Florida, maybe you have a guy that prepares the team better during the week than they've been prepared in the past. So when they go up against a quarterback they don't know much about, A, they have some knowledge, B, then they can adjust on the fly better. That's going to be the key. I don't think this team has adjusted well during the course of games, especially defensively in recent years. Maybe now they adjust better. And part of that is they say they're going to play more depth. They're going to play a lot more guys. Well, if Power Echols comes out for a series, as much as coaches don't want to take him out, he can watch the game from a different view and see some of the adjustments maybe that might need to be made. Exactly. In basketball, they do that all the time. Every time a big comes over, Sean May goes and talks to him. Yeah. Every time a guard comes over, Jeff Lebo goes over and talks to him. Yeah. So you have those opportunities more in basketball. In football, they should take advantage of those situations, especially early on. Sit those guys for a series or a couple snaps so they could see what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Even if the coordinator's up in the box, there's a ton of people on the sideline that can help them out in that respect. So they know the things. I think what I really enjoyed and appreciated about Mack, A, taking the time to talk to me for as long as he did, B, is that he didn't run from anything. He knows it.
No. He
knows it. He's not going to give away everything. He's not going to tell us everything, and he acknowledged that. And maybe other scenarios he might say more, but they know what the problems are, and they know that those opportunities to prove to the fans and themselves and everybody else that they are past that very well could come up this season again. And I think there's a lot of excitement in the coaching staff believing that they're going to not scale those obstacles, but plow right through them.
Yeah.
I think that they believe that's going to happen. I think there's a confidence in that coaching staff that is higher than it's been in a while. And maybe it's because they have figured out all the things they've done wrong. And like in life, when you screw up and you realize, oh man, I've been screwing up, and then you figure out, oh, I know what it was. Suddenly you got a little jolt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm not going to make that
feels good. Yeah.
I kind of get the vibe that that's the belief in that building right now.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And just real quickly, the last thing I want to hit on, you just talked about it. I just want to talk about it for one more second, because as someone who spent a lot of time throughout the offseason, chatting with Carolina fans, just, whenever it may come up, people I know and all that stuff. Mack addressed this yesterday, and I liked the way he did address it, because for me, it's been one of the most, not frustrating because I don't have stake in it like that, but one of the most perplexing things that Mack has continued to say over the last few years. And it's about the depth. We got to play depth. We got a lot of depth, and we're going to play him this year. And it feels like that spiel has kind of been going on the last 5 years, but it's never actually happened. He acknowledged it in the podcast yesterday of like, I've been saying it, but we actually got to start doing it. And I know there's a frustration there from the fan base perspective, because you're hearing your head coach and the guy of your program come out and say that every year. And then again, when the bullets start flying and it really matters, it's not happening in the games. And you can tangibly see that when you watch it on TV or when you're in the stadium and see it. You don't have to be a rocket science to say that, oh yeah, I thought what's his name was going to play and he hasn't played all season. Again, I think this is a question that I'm not going to sit here and ask you, do you think they're actually going to play depth this year? Because until the season starts, we're not going to know. But for me, I just thought that was a very interesting part of it, because for him to come out and acknowledge that and actually admit that, hey, I've been saying this, but we haven't actually been doing it. I mean, surely they play more guys this year. I don't think you can come out on a podcast and say that like he did and not do it again, because I think if you do that, then it becomes, okay, well, why aren't you doing that? Why are you keep telling us you're going to do it and you're not actually doing it? I think Mack knows as well, the best teams he had at Texas, you have to be able to do that. You can't win and compete at the highest level if you don't have if you just play, 22 guys and that's it. You got to have depth on both sides, and they actually have to play to develop. So again, what did you make of that comment? Because I just thought it was very interesting the way he went about saying it.
Well, he initiated it.
Exactly. That was I
didn't ask him about playing up. He initiated it, and he brought it up back in the spring as well. I think there's a couple ways of looking at this. Number one, he did it at Texas, but he also had much more loaded rosters at Texas.
Yes, for sure.
He had more what I would call plug and play guys in the second and third teams at Texas than he has at North Carolina. So that's part of it. I think that there's been lots of major drop-offs. And I told you this probably the first week I met you, maybe when we were standing out waiting for Larry's post-practice interview session, the first practice you went to, that football coaches are among the most paranoid people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I love your analogy about the D-Day invasion.
Well, they're very paranoid in that, why would I put this guy who's a B- performer on the field when I could put an A performer on the field, because, my God, this play could lose the game. And in football, you have a botch coverage or a botch read on something, and a 75-yard touchdown could cost you the game. It could happen at any time. So I get that. But to your point, you've got to play the kids. You got to get them out there and get them experience. Mm-hmm. Amari Campbell's going to be one of the starting linebackers this year. But had he gotten in more games early and gotten 6 snaps, 7 snaps, 5 snaps, even just that, think about how much more prepared he would be now for live action. He's going to have live bullets at Minnesota. Minnesota ain't Campbell. So he's going to have to go up there. Now, he did play, obviously, West Virginia and stuff like that, but he's going to have to go up there and deal with that as basically a raw new guy. So had he gotten a little bit more experience last year and seen different looks, and it just felt more like he had a gauge for growth in his game, but there's a little bit of stuff on film. I think that's part of it too. It's not just keeping guys fresh. I think it's keeping the reserves engaged for when guys get hurt and then suddenly they're thrown into it, but they've been playing some, they've been preparing some. Anybody will tell you that's played sports, if you don't get on the field or the court much, once you get deeper in the season, most guys just aren't going to prepare as well.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, they're just not as engaged. They're not as bought in.
Human nature in a lot of ways.
That's human nature. And I always talk about human nature finds its way on the fields and courts all the time. It's one of the things I love about sports. So keeping guys engaged, keeping them more bought in. I do think Mack brought up a great point. Coaches nowadays have to have this internal battle about special teams. Man, do I just go young on special team to get the kids out there? Or do I put the older guys out there and get them on, and they're on the field even more? They're getting more reps, especially early in the year when it's hot. I think you get the reserves in the field and set defensive calls, for example, and then have the veteran defensive guys get on some special teams. So the snaps that their plays are going to use up on special teams, sit them on defense, because at least they're in set situations you can control a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Special teams, once the ball's in the air, it's almost like a free-for-all. I mean, they have calls. All the return units have calls, okay? But once the guy starts running, if the wall breaks down or whatever the case may be, you're just out there. And a selling point that Larry Fedora was brilliant at using, and Larry was a damn good special teams coach, is he told the guys, look, most of you aren't going to make an NFL roster because of your position. In the NFL, since they have limited roster spots, you've got to also be able to play special teams. Mack Hollins has made a long career in the NFL because he's great playing special teams, and he can do all that stuff. So I think it's important for Carolina to get Power Echols on special teams, to get Elijah. Well, Elijah's going to return, but get some of these other guys on special teams, because if they're going to make NFL rosters and they have a lot of special teams experience, it's going to help them stick in the league. It also gives your special teams a little more gravitas, and they need it.
They need
their special teams have not been very good. Their punt protection is awful, and they got to improve that. and I've got issues about that. We can talk about it another time. But then at the same time, you're giving some young guys, you don't put them all out there together, but you put a backup linebacker out there with Power Echols. You put a backup corner out there with Elijah Huzzy. You put a backup safety out there with Will Hardy, that kind of thing. So you get them experience that way. Same thing on the offensive line. The offensive line really needs to play some other guys, especially since right now they have 2 openings. I think they really only have one. I think that Ja'Kai Leftwich is going to be one of the starting offensive tackles, but there's a guard spot that right now you can look at 3 names and say one of those guys might be the starter, depending on what happens in August. Play them all.
Yeah.
Don't just play the guy that play them all. When you go up to Minnesota, go ahead and start Malik McGowan. You know what Adorno can do. Then you go Adorno. Then you go Zach Rice and just keep rotating to see who wins, see who the best guy is. And you'll know that by the time they play JMU and they finish with JMU and they get into league play, they'll know who the starter should be there. That's the kind of stuff I think fans want to see. And that would connect what they're told in August with what they actually see in September, October, and November. I think that's the biggest thing now is when Mack has made some of these statements before, fans don't see the connection from those words to the field, and they want to see that more. And I think it's fair to say that it's also fair to acknowledge that there are all kinds of
factors and other things.
Roads veer off in all kinds of directions. There are a lot of divots. I can use all these metaphors that you can for fall camp and get early in the season, because nothing is ever what you think it's going to be.
No.
Ever. Not across the board.
No, and you said the words out of my mouth. That was the last thing I was going to say is just, I think from talking to fans, it's not that they're not playing the depth. It's that they're being told they're going to, and they don't, because I think what that causes is a certain type of distrust in the fan base of, okay, well, Mack, you keep telling us this and you're not doing it. So what else are you telling us that maybe isn't reality? You know what I mean? I think that's just a natural reaction when what you're being told over the years is not actually, you can see with your own 2 eyes, well, that's not happening. So why did you tell us it was going to happen? You know what I mean? I think that's where the frustration and the lack of maybe belief can really creep in when you're being told something that's not actually ever coming.
My personal opinion is they're going to do it more, and they're going to do it because I think that they have the young people in the program now are smart. They've raised, I would say, the GPA. The kids they brought in this past class, outstanding. Most of them graduated early. They were in great position to do so. Yeah. They gave us all the true freshman interviews for the first time ever before, because kids are pretty sharp and can handle it. And I think that's there's a football IQ factor they have in their freshman class now that exceeds what they've had since Mack returned. And that's a big part of it, because so much of his scheme and understanding. A lot of these kids are physically look like they're already ready to play. So I think you're going to see more of this because they trust that there might be some physical mistakes, but it's the mental mistakes that scare the coaches more than the physical mistakes. Because the greatest athlete in the world makes a mental mistake, then he's no longer the greatest athlete in the world on that play. He's just an average athlete, right? But an average or above average athlete who is spot on and pre-snap is always going to play above his skill level, because he economizes movement and understanding and all that stuff. So I think you're going to see him play the bench more because they've got more behind the different positions. At linebacker, a couple of years ago, you're talking Ra Dilworth as your third linebacker. Yeah. And they, hey, Ra, you're really a safety. I'm a linebacker. You're really a safety. I'm a linebacker. And he's bounced around. And that's no dig at Ra. It's just Ra should have been a safety, not a linebacker at 205 pounds. And that's what they had. Now you look in that linebacker room, everybody in there's a linebacker. Everybody in there fits the part, and they all can play at a level higher than what their backups had before. There's so much more upside with those guys. If you look at the cornerback spot, same thing. I think there'll be some jockeying at star. I think there's more depth at safety. They've got decent depth on the defensive line. They need more, but I think they have enough numbers there. And then on the offensive line, biggest question mark on the team, I think right now, to be honest with you. But there are some numbers, and they should play those kids because there are numbers. They tell us that, so we want to see it. I do think you'll see more depth played, especially early in the year. Now, if they're blowing teams out, we may not know if they're really using depth until we get through October. Because outside of Minnesota, they should beat Charlotte handily, Central handily. And even though JMU's been really good, they got a new coach, got a lot of newness there. They should, North Carolina should be able to beat them. So we may not know until they get, 3 or 4 games in the ACC if they're really playing the depth. And you know what? By then, some of these guys are going to have reps. They're going to get some reps in September because there could be some games that are fairly lopsided. And maybe the coaching staff will be less paranoid about putting certain guys in the game. But I agree with you. That connection's important. And connection to the fans is important, which is another thing we talked about.
Yeah, of course it is. And we've talked at length about that and it drops this offseason. So we're not going to, and you talked about it with Mack and in the pocket that you asked him a great question about that. So go listen to the interview we did with Mack. We won't rehash any of that fan stuff. You guys know about it, but over an hour long, really good stuff. You should click on our YouTube channel. It'll be, I guess, the previous video before this one that we've uploaded. So go check that one out. AJ, let's you just talked a little bit about, we'll save ACC kickoff for the last thing, because we won't, we're not going to go in depth on ACC kickoff.
And I'll do a report tomorrow, by the way, from Charlotte. I'll do like a little 3 things, solo type of 3 things from Charlotte tomorrow. And we'll have some videos that I pop up on our YouTube channel. We're going to do a lot more small videos moving forward that we pop up on the YouTube channel, and maybe some shorts. People have been complaining, don't do any shorts. We did a little bit, but you know how I am. I'm not the guy I'm not Peter Brady getting all the toys delivered at one time. Like, I want one toy at a time. I want to kind of feel it out. Yeah. I just dated the living crap out of myself, by the way, with a Peter Brady reference. Bruce Young would prefer a Marsha Brady reference, but that's neither here nor there.
I got the Brady bus.
So yeah, tomorrow's going to be really interesting. I'm going to try to be really creative from there, more so than before. So I'm looking forward to that, but I'll definitely do some kind of drop from there.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that for sure. That'll be always interesting to see your insights on that. But let's just talk about fall camp. And I want to go into that because I think we already kind of have talked about it in the last 10, 15 minutes, a little bit about in terms of what we're looking for. You talked about special teams development. Are they going to play older guys? Are they going to keep playing these younger guys? What's going to happen there? You talked about offensive line. Does Ja'Kai Leftwich come in as a starter? Does somebody else slide into that position? What's the rotation there? We've already kind of hit on some things that we will be looking for in fall camp, but I think let's talk a little bit about that because that does start on July 29th, reporting day on July 28th. So again, not far away at all at this point, but I mean, obviously quarterback, that's number one that people have a question about. It's the most important position on the football team. Very interested to see how that plays out. We're not going to know practice 1. We're not going to know practice 2. It's going to take, I believe, a few weeks to really see how that develops. And, who knows, maybe Carolina goes into the Minnesota game, not, playing multiple guys. It just remains to be seen how that works out. But obviously that's the biggest position that people are interested in and want to see how that develops again, because it's the most important position on the team. But I think there are other things that people are looking for too. I'll just name a couple. Defense. Is it improved? And we're not going to know the game till the season starts, but what is that looking like? How does that look in the open practices we get to go to? Are they flying around like they say they are going to be? Is it a loud group? Is it an aggressive group? Can we actually see that in preseason and say, okay, yeah, there does seem to be a different attitude here? Remains to be seen if it translates into the season, but we're seeing evidence that this is a different group, at least from a mentality and scheme standpoint. I think that's one thing we're going to be looking out for as well. Defensive line, how does that shake out? Can this defensive line finally get something going and sustain it? And does it have depth down there? Is Travis Shaw the guy that people think he can be? Or is he still somebody who's running with the 2s and the 3s? All these things are things that we're going to be looking out for, at least that I'm going to be looking out for once fall camp comes around. I think fans are going to be looking out for as well. So besides quarterback, AJ, I mean, we could talk about that at length, but what are the things that you're, practice 1, in some of those open practices really going to be trying to hone in on and see, okay, are we seeing evidence of development here? Who's running here? What are you most looking forward to kind of looking at?
Who's the primary backup behind Omarion?
Yeah, that's a good point too. There's some depth back there now, but who is it? Yeah.
Well, there's bodies, but we don't know what the depth is. Darwin Barlow's run for nearly 1,000 yards in college. He scored 11 touchdowns. He had a pretty decent year at TCU, got some reps a couple years ago at Southern Cal. College graduate. He knew Omarion was there when he came to Carolina. He came for a role. So I like that. He understands that there's going to be a role. He knows he's not going to carry the ball 25 times a game. But who's behind him? I think Davion Goss, true freshman, is going to get on the field. His nickname is Bullet for a reason.
It's a great nickname.
This Charleston French, the kid they just brought in from community college, they brought in 2 JC transfers, which is very interesting, and a Division III guy. By the way, sidebar, their portal group, 2 JC kids, a dude from a Division III school, a quarterback who left 15 months earlier and came back, and 2 guys who started out at NC State. Welcome to college football 2024.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
So I think it's going to be up in arms, and I'm up in the air rather, and I'm going to watch that position closely because Omarion's 1 knee away from not being on the field. So what do? How do they use those backs? Chip Lindsey loves to throw to running backs. Darwin Barlow can catch a ball. Davian Goss can pass protect. His high school down in Florida threw the ball a lot. So he's got a lot of pass protection experience. So he's a true freshman that arrived already with a pretty good base in how to pass protect, as opposed to Elijah Green, who transferred out. He went to a high school that just ran the ball. Yeah. So it took him 2 years at North Carolina to learn how to pass protect and catch passes, run routes, simple wheel route. So I think it's going to be interesting how they use the backups as well. And we'll get a little sample of that in August. I'm very curious to know how those real young wide receivers do. Yeah. Jordan Shipp, I think, has got a shot at being in the rotation. I think Jordan Shipp has got a chance at being like that next level receiver. And he may not show that in Minneapolis, but he could well show it in Chestnut Hill by the time they get up there. I think he's really damn good. If you talk to people in the program, they think he's really damn good. Mm-hmm. As far as the offensive line goes, I mean, it's just one giant question mark after another.
Yeah.
And that's the most important storyline to me in fall camp, because whether it's Connor or Max, they need those guys up front to get the job done.
Yeah, for Omarion's sake too. If they're not blocking, you can't run the ball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But although he can bull.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good. He'll probably find a way. But
Max says this is going to be a better line.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment.
There's a lot of patchwork there. There's a lot of patchwork. Guys.
I don't know. For me, let me just chime in real quick. I've heard Mac talk. I've heard some other people who cover the program talk about that too. I guess for me is I just don't really know where that evidence comes from. I don't know what that's based on, because on paper at least, don't really see how you can say this O-line is definitely going to be better than last year's O-line. I just don't know where that comes from personally.
It comes from the fact that Hall of Fame head coach has seen them for the last 6 months.
Yeah, you're basing it on that. Yeah.
So, and that's why I tend to put a little bit of stock into what coaches say, because A, they know a hell of a lot more than I'll ever know. B, they're around it every day and they see it. And I think Mac is smart enough. While people say, oh, he's a great salesman, but he also recognizes that when you keep saying this is going to be this way on a positive and it isn't, that people tend to not take your words as seriously. So I think Mac understands this. Maybe he's trying to shoot them confidence through the media, but I don't think he uses the media to get to his team. I think there's so much transparency in the program. He doesn't need to do that like some coaches do. So I don't think that that's part of it. I think he truly believes it's going to be a better group, and it's very well could be a better group.
Could be, yeah, it could be.
But there are a lot of ifs that must go on the positive for this group to be better. But Austin Blaski must be a guy that, okay, he didn't get on the field a ton of Georgia, but that's Georgia. Okay, well, it makes sense. He'll play some in North Carolina. Howard Sampson from North Texas played 83 snaps last year, I think it was, at North Texas. Yeah. And when he arrived, he told me in January, face-to-face, well, I'm a project. And he was a starting right tackle throughout spring. So is that now Ja'Kai Leftwich? I think it is. I think it's going to be Leftwich and Travion Green. And Sampson's still a project, but he's a project who's much further ahead than they were anticipated at this time. I mentioned the right guard position earlier. I think it's totally up in the air. Willie Lampkin is solid. He's settled. I think Leftwich has played 700 snaps the last 2 seasons at Georgia Tech. I think he's fine. Mm-hmm. Tight end is in great shape. That'll help. I think you might see multiple tight end sets sometimes, even in the run game, with using both sides, not just 2 tight ends on one side. So I think you're going to see them do some creative stuff with the run game, especially to offset maybe some concerns they have up front, if those concerns are actually there. Mm-hmm. So, but as I told somebody on our board the other day, they said seeing is believing. I said, I understand that. I'm with you. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm around, just because we're around the team more, doesn't mean that I can look at practice and say, yeah, they're going to be a lot better. No doubt about it. Yeah, it's a lot harder in football. I think we'll know because Minnesota's defense won't be rotten, and that place is going to be loud and frothing at the
Thursday
mouth.
Night, national television.
Half the stadium will start drinking at noon that day.
Yeah, so the whole town will shut down.
So if they can block, we'll see it August 29th in Minneapolis without a doubt. That's going to be a good enough test that we'll know right away what that group is.
Yeah, I find the O-line one the most interesting and the most intriguing because of what's being said out of the program from someone like Mack. But also, just for me, like we talked about, I don't necessarily know what that's based on because you're taking Mack's word for it. For me, I look at it of, well, you lost a lot of guys and you're bringing in some guys that have never played for North Carolina before. So, like, just on paper, I'm always like, well, because I've had conversations with Carolina fans about this, throughout the offseason of like, how can you say that these new guys that are coming in are just going to hit the ground running and be better than guys that, we're talking about some guys last year that, spent, at least 2 seasons across the line for North Carolina. And, and just Spencer Rowland, just to name one. It's like, for me, it's a lot of like, I'm trying to think of the right word to say here. It's a lot of assuming that Austin Blaske is going to come in and just, he's going to be really, really solid the whole year. You don't have a lot of evidence to suggest. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. And I think there's too many guys across that line where you don't really have evidence that anything's going to happen. So what are you basing it on? You know what I mean?
I don't think the staff is assuming. I think if I say it, I'm assuming that I'm assuming my trust in what Mack says.
Yeah, exactly. We're basing on
what Randy Clements says. So the assumption would be more on my part of just, I can't go against what he says because I don't know. So I have to report what he says, and that's that. However, they see it. And let's keep in mind, what was the basic narrative about the offensive line the last couple of years? Mm-hmm. They can't pass protect.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you lost a bunch of guys that can't pass protect, did you really lose anything?
Yeah, maybe these people coming in are better.
Now, there's some talented guys that maybe in different scenarios are better, but that's been one of the primary concerns. Mm-hmm. And they've gotten, when you go back to the collapses and you look at areas that they've struggled in late in the year, they haven't been nearly as good scoring touchdowns in the red zone late in the season the last 2 years as they were earlier in the season. And part of that is, I think, offenses haven't adjusted enough. I think they got way too reliant on Drake to try to just make winning plays, which they've acknowledged, by the way.
Yeah.
Chip Lindsey's acknowledged that, and so is Mack, but Chip Lindsey doing it was really important. He did that in the spring. And I also think that the offensive line just didn't block as well when they got in the red zone late in the year. So you're talking about being a lot better, but where's that bar? Mm-hmm. I think look at they lost 4,000 snaps from last year's offensive line. And if you include the transfers, they didn't get any. They got like 1,000 back.
Yeah.
Outside of Willie Lampkin, you got Lampkin. Adorno played some, but Adorno's only ever started a game because someone else got hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not dogging on Adorno. It's just the reality of it.
Fact.
The other and Trevion Green played like 80 snaps. Like there's nothing really there, but these guys see it every day. And for Mack to see all these snaps go and very few come in, but man, I really like the way the chemistry. They like the athletic ability of the offensive line, for example. They really like the athletic. They like the size of the tackles. That's what they want. They want huge tackles. So they see it every day. Mack knows what he's looking at. He doesn't need a game to have a feel of what kind of team he has. The games help a ton. There's a lot more information than anything else, but he knows what he's doing. So he looks at that and says, you know what? This is a more versatile group. You can execute more creative blocking schemes so you're less predictable and you're harder to scout moving forward, which goes into the team struggling later in the year to score and run the ball in tight situations because maybe last year's group couldn't do as much pulling, couldn't cross block as much. They weren't as good at being lateral. This year's group might be better at being lateral. And because of that, they can use a lot more schemes up front. They can execute multiple different schemes instead of just being a straight zone run team or whatever you want to call it, whatever areas you want to go into. So I think it goes into more just the personnel, but the variety of the package. And I think the package is going to be what's key this year. You're going to see a different package and approach defensively, which is why guys that you don't think were very good last year might look better this year because they fit the package better. The same thing could go with offense, which is also another reason why don't try to put Max Johnson or Connor Harrell into Drake May's shoes because they're not going to be asked to do what Drake did. So, no, they're not Drake, but they're going to be something a little bit different. I think the staff's going to be more reliant on the package and the varieties of the packages than they were in the past. And I actually think that's a good thing.
Yeah, completely agree. So many things we could talk about at fall camp. Again, July 29th start date for the Tar Heels, and obviously we'll be there to cover every second of it. So make sure you follow us along for that, and we'll obviously be having more pods throughout the fall camp and drops as well, discussing these specific topics as they start to develop a little bit more. Last thing, AJ, ACC kickoff, like you said, been going on the last 3 days. Final day is tomorrow. Carolina, the last team going. You'll be there in Charlotte. We joke about it a little bit because and I've been a few times as well. And for people as entrenched in the program as we are and who go to these press conferences and have these off the record chats with guys like Mack and things like that, you compare all that to even the Monday press conference after game. You compare all that to what you actually get at the ACC kickoff from an interview perspective. It's not the same. We're never, because of the format it's hard to go in there and really be able to get some one-on-one time with Mack and be able to ask some of these more specific questions when there's just so much national media there that's trying to ask questions that have already been answered 1,000 times. I don't think tomorrow you're going in there expecting to get all this juicy information. I think that it's not necessarily the place for it, but what are you looking forward to seeing tomorrow with Carolina? Obviously going to have, what is it, 5 players there? K'Mon Rucker, Power Eccles, Max Johnson, Connor Harrell, and Amarion Hampton, correct? So a lot of players and Matt.
Plus JJ Jones is going to be there doing some media stuff.
Oh yeah, because he's trying to get into that, with his school and everything. So
honestly,
looking forward to.
Well, first of all, JJ's an awesome dude, and
good personality for something like that. I could see him.
In a way, following him around might be the best story I could do.
That's true. Yeah, just seeing what he's up to.
I think just talk every time you get a chance to talk to the kids. Yeah, it's always good. And I also think that maybe we might not have as many members of the media swarming as previously because the last team on the radar. You're talking about the last team on the 4th day. There are going to be a lot of people that say, you know what, I don't really need Mack Brown. I'm going.
That's a good point.
A lot of people that cover other stuff. So there'll be us, the main North Carolina media that will be there. And with so many players, they'll be scattered around. So you might get a little bit more opportunity to get some stuff. So we'll see. Amarion doesn't say a lot. Power doesn't say a lot. Although when Mack, let me go back to this real quickly. And I thought about it when Mack said it, the story about Power leading the way out there. I go back to when he showed up and didn't say much. I love watching a guy show up like Power Eccles, not saying much. By the time they leave, they're leading practices and stuff. So I think that's a really cool thing. But he doesn't say a ton, but he might in that setting because the players are not at a podium. We get them like this microphone's right here. I could be this close to him. So you're going to get more interesting stuff that way anyway. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it just because it really, to me, the season starts when I walk in to the ACC kickoff and put the press pass on. It's a season. So my off season came and went. Yeah. No days off this off season. Didn't go to an Orioles game. Didn't do a lot of stuff. So, my wife's situation has been kind of hard. So, but I'm ready. I'm ready to dive into it. I'm so anxious to see what this team looks like. Very excited to chronicle the season. Each game is a chapter. And each season is a book, and I'm looking forward to basketball for the very same reasons. I don't look forward to it saying, boy, man, I hope I get to cover a CFP. Yeah, no. I just want to see what it is. We've been hearing about so much. Football's different than basketball. You hear about so much buildup. And then here it comes. So how many dots can you connect to the buildup? Usually it's maybe 30%, 40% with every team. Not just North Carolina. So what are those dots? That's what I like. That's the kind of stuff that fuels me and it gets me excited to go down to Charlotte and turn on my camera and start talking to people. And I like snooping around, just not snooping around, but just talking to a lot of other media. But because it's so spread out now, SMU, Florida State, and Georgia Tech start practice today.
Seriously?
Because they all play on week 0, why isn't week 0 called week 1?
Yeah, they did that a couple years ago with Carolina when they played they went up to App, and it was like a week 0 game, and it's like
it was the Florida A&M.
Oh, excuse me, Florida A&M. Sorry, yeah.
Where they almost didn't show up. They almost had a revolt.
Yeah, that was a interesting situation to say the least.
Just I think they should start the season in what is called week 0, and play 13-game schedule.
I wouldn't mind that either, to be honest with you.
With 13-game schedule, 2 open dates, no conference championship game. Have a scoring system for who gets into the conference championship game, similar to how they use for other stuff. Just do it that way, and the league can go ahead and renegotiate the deal and get a lot more money. And but it's too easy. I should be in charge of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you keep expanding. They keep expanding these conferences, and God knows how many teams you're going to have to add a couple extra games in there. Nobody's ever going to play anybody. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
And they might not be done.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Crazy times right now. But AJ, I mean, again, it seems like a sense of normalcy is coming back around. Every time you see football getting a little bit closer, you kind of start to get back in that mode a little bit. And as someone who's been doing it as long as you have, I'm sure it's kind of just second nature to you at this point. So
it's second nature, but I'm just as excited.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the first day of my 29th year doing this for a living.
Man,
that sounds like a long time, and I'm old. I don't feel it. I hope I don't look it.
Yeah, you definitely don't look at it.
I hope I don't feel it. I feel good. I'm just as excited. And it's interesting. I asked Mack a question about the fuel. Like, when might the fuel not be there? My fuel is there.
Fired up.
I feel really good. My every day's game day. When I go to bed at night and I look at the site, I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about what we did today.
Yeah. It's
like that every day. And I'm consumed by it. I guess my wife thinks I'm a little weird and a little, I don't know how
I should get to do it. For
I should get her. I should get her on here to give 5 minutes about.
God, wouldn't that be a fascinating?
What makes me tick?
Oh man, I'd absolutely love to talk to her about that. That would be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Get the inside scoop on AJ on a daily basis, man. That'd be great stuff.
You don't want that. I know my neighbors. My neighbors know me as that guy that wears that weird Orioles shirt that walks around all the time so I get my steps.
Hey man, it's amazing, and you think you have no idea who you are. You're just that weird Orioles guy. You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's exactly what that's.
Not the guy who goes to every single Carolina football and basketball game and been doing it for 30, been in this business for 30 years. But again, that's what makes sports so cool and fascinating. This bubble that exists around it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's been 10 years in this job. And beforehand, I never covered just one school.
Yeah, you were all over the place. Yeah.
This time, 10 years ago, well, I guess 11 years ago, I'm at Panthers training camp, and they just opened camp, which is weird. It's overlapping with the ACC kickoff, which is not good. Yeah, but I'd go down. I'd love that. Fox would send me down. Here's what's crazy is the Panthers they train. I don't know if they still do. They train at Wofford in Spartanburg, and Fox would put me in a hotel in Anderson, South Carolina. So I'd have to do, and they'd practice twice. So I drove back and forth and go back, file my stuff, turn around, go back, and that kind of thing. But I loved covering NFL fall camp. That was cool. I've covered NBA training camp, NHL, NFL. I haven't done baseball spring training, but I did do a little bit of baseball. And NFL training camp was cool because it was a lot. Ron Rivera would just walk up to us after practice to do interviews, just like football coaches used to.
Yeah.
And like in college, rather, like Larry Fedora would. And
just walking up to you like it's nothing.
Tom O'Brien, David Cutcliffe, whatever it is. And I love that aspect of it because there was so much information there. Yeah. And sometimes I miss those things, but I really embrace the idea of covering one school and just tunneling to the center of the earth on that school as much as I possibly can, instead of just digging. I used to dig lots of little holes with all the different teams I covered, because you can never know everything about everybody. And that's one of the things I learned about when you're in a national or regional environment. You can't know everything. And sometimes it's really challenging to have to write a hard-hitting column about something that you're not around all the time, which is why I love this. This is why I think Carolina fans are so fortunate that they've got some media outlets that are always around the program that are damn good and do a really good job and give you what you need. And I love that challenge. I dropped my Gatorade Zero on the floor. So I've been dying to take a sip for like 25 minutes, but for some reason, Jacob just keeps talking and talking.
Hey, man, it's freaking. We could stay on here another hour to talk Carolina football, man. So many different things to talk about.
People don't know that you and I were talking for an hour before you.
Yeah, we were on here for an hour, basically, and straight up hour. We've basically been on this.
We haven't talked much though the last couple of months.
No, with everything going on, and we've basically been on this StreamYard for about 3 hours now, AJ. So I mean, we're back to our normal scheduled in season.
Well, I need a 5 hour. If I start doing that, then I need a 5 hour energy. I'll see if I have a strawberry banana one in there as I loop it back to the beginning.
We're waiting on your not strawberry banana. We're waiting on your 5 hour energy. Come on, sponsor us, man. Go tweet them, guys. Go tweet them. Stop listening.
At the minimum, just send me like 20 cases.
Yeah, just free stuff. He'll take that. I mean, again, we can talk money if you guys like to, but I mean, free. Heck, AJ would say
Connor O'Neill
every year if you got free cases.
Connor O'Neill, who runs the Duke and Wake Forest sites and rivals, he's a 5 hour energy guy too.
Hey, man, I get it. Trust me. I'm not as entrenched in it anymore as you guys were in terms of going to every single game. I did it did it at least not every single game, but was, covering most of the games for a couple seasons. And I get it, man. It's a grind, man. It's a grind. A lot of late nights, a lot of traveling, a lot of drive. I mean, it's a grind. You need you need a little 5 hour energy to keep you going, man. Trust me. I was more of a Red Bull guy back then. I try to stay away from it now, but 5 hour energy.
A lot of airports,
way to go.
A lot more flights. Yeah. By the way, very quick little thing here. So I went down to see my dad on Sunday down in Wilmington, and he didn't realize, and we're just talking about ACC and the new teams coming in. I said, do you realize that Carolina doesn't play any of the 3 new teams this year in football?
Yes.
And in basketball, they don't go to any of the 3 new teams.
Yeah, it's like it never even happened.
So North Carolina will not make an appearance in football or basketball in Palo Alto, Berkeley, or in Dallas this year. They play all 3 of them at home in basketball.
It's crazy. I wonder how they got that deal. Seems like a pretty good deal right there to not have to travel in any of those 3 schools, man. Heck, I've been intrigued by SMU and how they've gone about this. Yeah. Yeah.
They've been playing it up. Everything have been playing it up. Their social media has been, if you don't follow them, it's worth the follow just because it's fun.
Oh, they're milking it.
And I think it's cool. You know what? To juxtapose what some schools are doing.
It's a good point.
It's great to see them happy to be there.
Yeah. That's what you want from a league perspective, ultimately.
And as far as those other schools go, we haven't been wrong at all on the boards, have we?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Hey, man.
If you want to know, go to our site. You got to sign up. $833
a month. $833 a month. Can't even drive through.
There are certain people on Twitter I beg you to not follow. They're not legitimate. They're not real. They don't have a clue. And the reason it annoys me is because all that crap comes back on us, and we have to answer to it because, well, I saw this guy over here said that. Mm-hmm. If you want to know what's going on, it's on our boards.
Yeah, I'll leave it at this, AJ. A blind squirrel will find a nut every once in a while. I think that's all you need to know about some of these people on Twitter, AJ. But I've been Jacob Turner.
This knows found a wife. This knows found a wife.
Yeah, man. I mean, it can happen.
So there you go. Anything can happen.
It can happen. It can happen for sure, man. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. First edition in a while of the Carolina UNC football show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Make sure you subscribe. Again, shoot us a Venmo if you want to support. Come sign up for $833 a month. We'd rather you do that. Links in the description below. And keep it locked to TarLillustrated.com for all your fall camp coverage, all coverage from ACC kickoff tomorrow in Charlotte and everything else going on, because it's obviously about to ramp up real soon here in Chapel Hill. Again, guys, make sure you share, hit the notification bell too. Tell your friends about us so we can keep growing this thing. Appreciate y'all watching as always. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.